Welcome to another interview by Project Cargo Weekly, and our special guest this afternoon here in the Christmas times is the port of Karlshamn. And I would like to welcome first of all Mr. Ulf Sandevarn, Marketing Manager of the port. Welcome, Ulf.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Also Mr. Martin Pedersen, Supercargo from the port. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Bo.
And Mr. Pelle Carlsson, Marketing Assistant in the port of Karlshamn. Welcome as well to you.
Thank you, Bo.
And to all our listeners, readers and viewers around the world, this is a first also for me, as they said when they landed on the moon, that I have three people at the same interview. So bear with us, but I'm sure you'll be happy with it. First and foremost, as I always do with my interviews, I always let my accused or interviewees, as we call them, get a chance to introduce themselves for a couple of minutes, let's say their background leading up to their current position. So starting with you, Ulf, how did you end up working as marketing manager for the port?
Yeah, it's a bit of a long story, actually. I'm not from this area. I'm from Uppsala, north of Stockholm from the beginning. And one time back, I was starting up as a telex operator at the Salén shipping company in Stockholm.
Oh.
That was my start of my so-called career. Then we've been back and forth, of course, with studies of shipping in London and at the university in Sweden with materials administration logistics in Växjö. Then I started my so-called real work. So I've been some years in Gothenburg with the container operators as Atlantic Container Line and Maersk Line. Then going to Karlshamn, a nice place in the southeast, working some years for the energy industry called Sydkraft, which is now today E.ON company. Then working together with my father, who had the background as a sea captain, and so we were working together in a shipping consultancy firm, doing consultancy work and education on university level. And one day the call from the port, which is almost embarrassing to say, but it was more than 20 years ago, and they needed some help. And I was stuck here and still here. And I guess I think the reason is that it has a lot of potential and there's always something to do, and we growing, and yeah, that's why it's fun and enthusiastic to be here.
Okay. So basically, we are looking at a happy person, I can say to our viewers.
Yes.
Good to hear your background, Ulf. Most interesting, and also that you have the shipping background from years ago. Very good. Mr. Martin, also my, let's say, fellow Dane, escaped from Denmark to Sweden. What's your background? How come you ended up in Karlshamn? I believe you were also in Asia before. Tell us your background, please.
Oh yeah, been around for some years, for sure. I started actually in 1983 as a seaman. Worked my way up, 10 years, ended up as a chief mate. After that I had 10 years in the port of Fredericia and in Aarhus Devedor Company. Then I started as Supercargo with Scantrans in Næstved. One of the boys from there in the good old days where everything was not so complicated, full speed ahead. Tremendous good year. They gave me opportunity to move to Asia. Then I was living in Malaysia some years. After that I moved back to Europe, stayed in Germany for some years, and then back to Asia, where I was living in China, Singapore, Philippines, traveling a lot around in different companies. Ended up a little bit like after one of the last, let's say, downturn in the shipping business, where a lot of people were laid off. I worked a year as a freelance in Asia, as Supercargo. Then suddenly one day they called me from Blue Water Shipping in Denmark and asked if I would be interested to come to Sweden, because they had a big project going on. Yeah, basically everything was done on a phone conversation, and a few days later I took the plane from Asia to Sweden. And was not quite aware of what the project was, but it showed up to be putting in 50,000 pipes in an area of 27 hectares. I didn't try that before, so it was a little bit exciting in the beginning, building up the teams. Worked very, very close with the Port of Carlsson, of course. In the beginning, we had roughly 30, 40 people working from the ports on the project. Later on, it became a little bit more complicated because Nordstream asked us to speed up, and we had to hire additional 100 people. In that period of time, there was a person living who worked in the Port of Carlsson became sick, and they didn't expect him to come back. So I was asked if I would come over and take his position. So I thought, well, 30, 40 people, no problem. But suddenly we had 140 people, a lot of equipment, working 24/7 with, we had 2 shifts, working 6 to 18, 18 to 6, and then we had 2 shifts at home, resting. So it became extremely hectic. We didn't have a lot of experience with offshore projects like that. All Sea had the big vessels out here, so nothing was allowed to go wrong. So we learned systems back up. And it seems everybody was extremely happy about the handling we had on Nordstream project. So yeah, that's how it is. Nordstream is history now in the Port of Carlsson, but I'm still here and supporting the markets department on hopefully future projects coming in.
So just to be clear, how many years have you now been up to now? How long have you been in Karlshamn?
It's my 3rd year. I'm going
third year.
On.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Interesting. Interesting.
I'm very happy to be here. Of course, I think they are also happy to have a Dane here. At least they have somebody to talk about. So
yeah, that's good. That's good. We have to stand out, as they say. Good, excellent, and you certainly have seen something around the world, Martin. Good to have you here in this interview. Then we give the word to our third compatriot here, Mr. Pelle.
Thank you, Bill.
Tell us about who are you and where are you and what are you doing there?
Yeah, yeah. I'm an original Karlshamn man, though. I'm grown up in Karlshamn, and I started my work at the factory in Karlshamn, AAK, if anybody knows what that is. When I have been there for 10 years, I started logistic education for 2 years, and then I did, and then I started. After those 2 years, I started at the Port of Carlsson, and that was 1999. So 21 years ago now. So that's a long time ago. So it's like Ulf said, it's a shame, but I'm still proud to be working at the Port of Carlsson because it's very interesting.
Yeah, very good.
And when I started in Carlsson, the Port of Carlsson, I started like terminal foreman, and then I worked for that for a couple of years. Then I was vessel foreman for a couple of years, and then I ended up in the marketing department for 5 years ago. And my main task at the marketing department is project cargo and a few other things.
Okay, very good.
I'm a little bit short in my presentation, but
no, don't worry. If you're short, we have Martin. He can be long. So, we Danes, we are known for that.
Yeah, we work together, me and Martin and Ulf, quite often. Yes. So
it's great to see a team like this, and you know, it shows. Teamwork is the key. I mean, and having different kinds of qualities always is the recipe for success. Turning on to the port of Karlshamn, just so our viewers and listeners and readers around the world get to know the port. Ulf, if I ask you the location of the port of Karlshamn, can you elaborate on that? What regular lines do you have calling there? I believe it's a major ferry port as well. Tell us a bit about the port. Is it privately? Is it publicly run? A few facts, if you can.
Yeah, it's yeah, just as a funny story. You can see that when Sweden took this part of the country from Denmark, and it became a part of Sweden. Karlshamn has always been a port, and when the Swedish king at that time, he made it a city and then called it Karlsport, which is Karlshamn.
Right.
And got city rights, and they've been growing all the time. Back years back, and they called it the how do you say, the city of sin, because they were making liquor here and tobacco, deco cards was produced, and of course you have I guess they had the ladies down in the port area as well. But anyway, so it's been growing all the time, and we are located in the southeast of Sweden, and today we say for fun that it's the hot corner of Sweden. And the reason for that is, of course, since we had the opening, the fall of the Iron Curtain, the trade and transportation, of course, as you know, have been growing all the time.
Yeah.
A lot more in percentage than the western part of the world, which means that before we were kind of on the backside of logistics Sweden, and now we think we are on the front side. And we can see how things are growing with the trade around the Baltic Sea and beyond that. And it's correct. Already in '96, I think, we had the first Roro companies here. There was a bit like a cowboy situation at the beginning. Every city wanted their own ferry line to the east, and we had a company here which later on became Scandlines, and then after that came DFDS. So we still have the Danes here, Bo.
Okay.
Not only Martin. We are used. And the lines have been growing all the time. You can see a very small period going down during the financial crisis in 2007, 2008. But otherwise, it's just growing and growing. And
so if I may just ask you quickly, so if we concretize this a bit, who do you have as actual coming in on a regular basis now? If you list them, ferry, container-wise, let's say, who are your regular callers?
Yeah, at the moment it's DFDS Seaways sailing once or twice per day all week round, and it's to Klaipeda in Lithuania.
Ah, okay.
And it's a ropax service. And it's growing. They're coming with new big vessels next year, which are produced in China at the moment.
Okay.
Then from time to time we have container feeder operators calling. It's coming and going a little bit, you can say. And since just a month or so, we are also linked to the Silk Road via a service to Mukran port, former Sassnitz, and further away to Baltic Sea and China. So we had the first containers leaving a couple of weeks ago. I think they just arrived. So and then the other services is you can almost call it liner service, but it's various lines to the UK for sawn timber, both for mixed customers and for dedicated customers. And also we have the Stagavelko to the US for some customers.
The Norwegians, I guess, right?
Yes. And their service have increased on Karlshamn. It started with some 4 sailings per year, and now we expect some sailing every month next year.
Oh.
So and the volumes have been going up. Okay. So then of course on the land side we have very good rail service. We have the Swedish company Green Cargo serving the port twice per day, Monday to Friday, and also we have a container rail shuttle to Port of Gothenburg with a company called Vänner Express. So.
Most interesting, Ulf. That gives at least our listeners here a good overview, and you mentioned some names. I wouldn't have thought that Stagavelko would be there regularly, and other of the lines that you mentioned. That's interesting. I mean, it just goes to show there's more going on beyond your nose than you think.
They're actually with a vessel in the port just now.
Okay, very good.
And I forgot to mention that the port is like many ports in Sweden. It's to the majority owned by municipalities.
All right.
In Sweden. And in our case, it's 100% owned by the municipality.
Okay, and they are business-minded, so to speak.
Yes, I would say there are, of course, pros and cons by being owned by have such kind of owners compared with private owners. The negative with private owners is that they expect payback in 3 years in many cases.
That's right.
But the municipality they see as a kind of engine motor for the development of industry and business within the municipality. So they have a much longer perspective on what we are doing, and so we are quite happy to have them as owner, actually.
Good to hear, Ulf. Very pleased that you have such a relationship with your owners. That's not everyone that have that. So good to hear. Martin, turning to you as a supercargo and with your, let's say, global experience handling awkward cargoes in many places, do you often sometimes handle project cargoes and let's say heavy lifts and where you need the skills that you've learned during the years in your port?
Not as much as I want, but we hope for business. Well, I'm not only a heavy lift guy. I'm also a logistic. What I think we learned with the Nordstream project, where it became much bigger than I thought anybody would have imagined when they took it in here in Karlshamn.
Yeah.
What we actually find out is that one thing is to handle a project, smaller project where you can use the in-house staff. Here we had to go out and mobilize more than 100 people. Nordstream gave us 3 to 4 months for that task.
Right.
Then suddenly they came and said you have 3-4 weeks.
Right.
So we really had to, the whole management team at the terminal, we had to participate, and I think the December month, everything has to be ready on January. We had to train more or less 100 people in 4 weeks to do jobs with heavy equipment, driving a lever crane or driving a restacker where you're lifting a pipe 26 tons, having terminal tractors going around in the area. We had 14 terminal tracks driving forward and back by 18 years old girls.
Wow.
So it became a huge project for us to train all these people and security-wise, because it was not for us just to follow the normal rules of the Swedish law, how you behave on a port. You have to adopt everything to the offshore business.
Yeah. Martin, if I just may quickly interrupt 1 second. Just for many of our viewers are sitting overseas, and they wouldn't know perhaps what Nordstream is. Can you spend a minute or two just explain the size? What is Nordstream? It's something to do with energy, of course, but just for people's understanding.
Yeah, I mean, Nordstream is the pipeline with gas going from Russia to Germany.
Right.
It's about 1,230 kilometers long.
Right.
And the whole Nord Stream project became 4 places, 2 in Finland, 1 in Sweden, 1 in Germany, became the supporting ports for the pipe layer. And I mean, you have these vessels out there, they cost a fortune. They talk not hours waiting, they talk minutes of waiting. So anybody can imagine that nothing had to go wrong.
No.
I mean, it was a huge challenge for the port of Karlshamn, but I think we showed when we can do a project in that scale, there's basically no limits for us. And I mean, it's not enough that you have inside house people to do a job, but we could find 100 people outside. So for the future, whatever project will come, we are most definitely ready to take it on, and we can ensure whoever want to start up something here, if it's going to be windmill inland or offshore, we will handle it for sure. We can find everything they need. It's just a question of how we're going to do it, but we can do it. And that gave us a lot of confidence for the future regarding projects. I mean, there's not many ports in Sweden who have 27 hectares available, and we even have places where we can say, well, if we get the right people in, we can build a new quayside for them. It's not a problem. We have huge possibilities, and I think the infrastructure in the port is something that the markets department and us here at the terminal have worked that we can take blades out 100 meters long from the port. It's not a problem. I mean, many ports are lying in between a city somewhere. We don't do that. We lie outside the city, and we have very easy access to the E22. So you can, if you want to go north or south or east, west, it doesn't matter. Port of Carlsson will be there in the center of everything. So
it's good to hear, Martin. It's like my good old real estate broker used to say: location, location, location. And also for ports, that's vital. Certainly, a gigantic project like the Nord Stream, which has also been in the big politics. So from that side, perhaps some of our listeners know it. It's massive, and I do get your point about the cost of having these offshore vessels waiting. You can't muck about or have a coffee break. You have to do. So that's very interesting. Finally, we come to you, Pelle.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the facilities in port? What kind of crane capacity do you have there? Let's say I'm a heavy lift ship owner, or let's say I'm a ship owner and come in with a heavy lift. Can you lift it off up to what level? Can you get a floating crane if needed? What kind of facilities physically do you have in port as it is now? Can you tell a bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. We right now in 2014 we invested in Liber 550 that lifts about 140 tons, a bit out from the quayside. So when we did that, we that crane automatically gave us some work because we started to handle windmills, we started to handle other heavy lifts projects. So that's the biggest crane we have. Then we have a couple of others material handlers that you can use, for example, blades or something like that. And then some of the project we done is geared vessel, and there we have a very good staff that can drive the cranes in the company.
Okay, so
And
you have the experience.
Yeah, we have the experience in our staff, and then we have the cranes, and then we have very good cooperation with other companies, transport companies, and mobile crane companies around in the area. So
and as Martin mentioned, you have good access roads, so you can also move the cargo once it's discharged. You can move it further, so it doesn't block any access roads. It sounds like
that's a very big advantage for us, to have the access to the roads, and also the area Martin mentioned. It was 24 hectares. It's about 250,000 square meters. So we have the area to store things also.
Okay. It sounds like you have a versatile and proactive port in Karlshamn. One thing, of course, is one might have a good product, but the world should know about it. So turning to you, Ulf, what do you do to make sure that you are noticed around the world? Because as a wise man said, it's not what you know, it's who you know. How do you get your name across?
Yes, we normally, I mean, since some years back, we have been going from a player with more playing on the I would say the Swedish or the South Baltic field, and now we are going up in a division and are moving around on the international field.
Yeah.
So in the last years, we have been at different fairs. For example, the transport logistics in Munich, and we have been visiting the break bulk in Bremen, where we are planning to have a stand next time. We were supposed to be there, like many others, of course, already in spring this year, but it's postponed, of course. And then we start working with the social media, and then of course we trying to find contacts and distribute. It's a little bit different this year, but normally we have a customer magazine that we are distributing to some more than 3,000 receivers in Sweden and abroad, where we want to write about the developments in the port, and then of course we it's word by mouth, and of course we are sending direct mailings via email and letters and so, and try to produce some different materials that we can distribute.
So we can say that you are proactive port. You are not just sitting and waiting for things to fall into your lap. You are proactive. You are really doing something to become noticed, including, of course, this interview, right? So
yes, I mean, and it's not only regarding this. I mean, our main segments in the port is, of course, forestry product, project cargo, some bulk cargo, of course, the ro-ro cargo. You could say, and we are also, to mention, we are one of the absolute largest oil ports in Sweden, as is a deep sea port. We have very short inlets of more than 14, 15, 16 meters, and at the power plant, it's we have 14 meters of water and 13 on the other side, and on the dry bulk side, we have 11 meters of water.
That's really good.
Vessels up to 200 meters length overall.
Okay.
So you can say the main segments is it's bulk forestry, ro-ro, and liquid products, and so that's the main thing. Okay. And we try to promote all of them, of course.
Right. Okay, that's good to hear, Ulf. Then I'll round it off with a couple of very quick questions here at the end. So Martin, a quick question to you. You mentioned you had a past in Scantrans, and which is, of course, a lot of changes there with Sea Marine, Rigmas, and all that, the heavy lift. Are you still now in your new position there, sitting in Karlshamn? I suppose you keep in touch with your old buddies around the world, make sure they now know that they can come to Karlshamn.
Oh, yeah. I think when you become I think you mentioned it one time we interviewed Sove Lars Bundesen, the mafia, the Danish mafia. We never forget each other, and of course, you always keep in touch with the people. I try to at least see if I can follow up on a few guys every week, just write a few things. I know a lot about what is going on still in Asia, about the windmill industry. Of course, you try to catch up with some of the guys up here in Europe, because I haven't been seeing a lot of the guys up here, but I'm trying to catch up with them now, because I'm planning to stay in Karlshamn for the rest of my working life.
Yeah.
I bought a house up here, a little bit outside Karlshamn. I'm very pleased, and I see a lot of possibilities. We are a pretty young team, I think 50 plus here in the terminal, but still got 10 years ahead of us, and I think we can most definitely together with the markets department bring up the port to the next level for special projects and so on. I mean, the biggest benefit that we have in Port of Karlshamn is that we are a small port.
Yeah.
So when somebody contacts us, we are pretty fast finding a solution for the clients. And we always say, whoever is passing by Karlshamn, they most definitely should make a stop here and have a cup of coffee in the Port of Karlshamn, because or else they will regret it later on if they have any projects, for sure. Yeah. So now we are most definitely here, and the rest of the world, I think they know the liner service that if they have cargo for Sweden, they should most definitely pass by Carlsson, because we fix the problem.
Yeah, now you can say that your management seems to be a little bit like a family style, that you can act quick and give quick response. I think that's you are not one of these bureaucratic ports which have become too proud. So it's really good to see, and I will certainly make sure that Project Cargo Weekly will assist you in this. Pelle, finally to you before we round it all off. Pelle, how do you see, you are a local, what do you say, Karlshamnian, or I don't know how to say that in English, but Karlshamnare,
Swedish.
Yes, Swedish, yes. How do you see the future of the port? And it must have been exciting for you to see, since the beginning of your career to now, right?
Yeah, I see there's no limit actually, because we have very big surfaces, because we geographically that we are, it's very good for us. And I see we can, it's like Martin says, we have good staff, we have a quite young team, and we have some experienced staff also. So yeah, we have all the opportunities to grow, I think. And especially in Project Cargo, we have a couple of projects going on right now for 2021. And I think we have great opportunities.
Yes, that's good. I actually saw, just by chance, I'm in touch with one of the shipping agents here in Sweden called TSA, and I learned from them that AAL will have a call in your port. AAL Shipping in Singapore will have a call, AAL Gladstone, I think, early February. And it's not every day we see some of those ships here in these waters. It's been an eye-opener also for me to learn that you are really in there in Karlshamn. So good to hear. I think a final word from you, Ulf. The future is bright. If we forget the COVID, you see the future as bright for your port still?
Yes, absolutely. We are, as Pelle said, we are developing all the time and investing and growing. At the moment, we are investing more than 200 million SEK in expansion of the Ruhr port, which is ongoing at the moment for the DFDS new vessels. and we are always expanding the land areas. The area where we put the pipes on, which you can see behind Martin, we bought from the municipality to secure the future expansion of the ports. So we will not be closed in, as Martin mentioned, like many other cities. So I think we have a very good opportunities. And as you said, Bo, and anyone who are interested, please pass by. It's only 2 hours drive from Copenhagen Airport. You can take the train directly from there. And it's a fantastic, nice area, very popular among Danes. Visit us, visit the small, nice city and our small shipping museum and see the history. And we are both small and big. We say that we are the big port in the small city because we have more than 50 ports in Sweden, and we are normally in size number 7, 8 or something.
Pretty impressive.
We're not that small.
No. We should not. We should be proud of where we are, as they say.
Yes.
That's and I especially I find it very interesting regarding the Chinese president's Silk Road project, that you are even active in that now and have had the first few containers. Even, let's say, it has to pass a stretch of sea before linking up to the land side. This is interesting, and I think also people in Asia involved in the land bridge should know more about you, and we will also try to spread the word about this service. Most interesting. But then I would like to say, first of all, that I'm very pleased that you all take the time to give PCW listeners and readers and viewers your background. Thank you to you, Ulf. Thank you to you, Martin. And thank you to you, Pelle. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
Then to all our listeners, readers and viewers around the world, this was yet another great interview, at least in my own opinion, by Project Cargo Weekly, this time with the port of Karlshamn in the southeast corner of Sweden. Mr. Ulf Sandevarn, the manager there for marketing, Mr. Martin Pedersen as a Supercargo, and his colleague also in the port, Mr. Pelle Carlsson in marketing. Thank you all three for joining in, and stay tuned for another great interview in the new year with Project Cargo Weekly.